Ministries.com.
This is the 2009 Top 10 Webcam in the World winner. This is SETV.
Well, good evening, everybody. Bill Xam here. How's everybody doing tonight? It would probably help if I actually had my headphones on, wouldn't it? Hold on one moment. There we go. We are now actually ready to broadcast. We are, of course, broadcasting on the audio stream as well as the video stream. You can pick your poison there. Tonight, we have the studio lines open. The phone number to call into the show is area code 734-681-0272. That's 734-681-0272. For those of you that are watching on YouTube, we welcome you to the taped coverage of our broadcast. Tonight we have a lot of stuff to cover and a short time to do it. Now, last night we were covering the big radiation incident at the Michigan/Indiana border. There have been some additional developments in that quarter. Number one is that this is, as I said last night, nothing more than an exercise. What we need to ask ourselves is, why are they doing a, let's call it a radiation exercise at the Michigan-Indiana border with the Michigan Air National Guard when the Michigan ANG is going to Estonia? They're being deployed to Estonia. So, why would they need to do that? That said, since they're doing these exercises, obviously they're also going to be doing their drones, which is why I always say, make sure you wear your ball cap outside. That messes with the facial recognition software in the drones, or the people controlling the drones. And if you don't have a ball cap, any old head covering will do. If you just wear like a shop towel like I am right now, they won't be able to recognize you. So there you go. Now over here on the screen capture, for those of you that are watching on the video stream, we see here at the Saxby Chambliss website, that would be, let me see, I don't know if he's a representative or a senator. He is a senator. He is a U.S. senator from Georgia. Saxby Chambliss is doing an inquiry. He wants to know why, and he wants the Attorney General, Mr. Eric Holder, to investigate what they are calling the swatting incidents. Now, these swatting incidents, this is how this works. Let me scroll down here on the screen so that you can read about what we're talking about right here. There we go. Okay. What happens? And they are targeting conservative talk show hosts. And, well, when they target me, I'll just go ahead and make sure that I record the whole incident. What they're doing is they're using VoIP, that's voice over IP communications, sort of like our call-in line that we have open if anybody would like to call in. We have several incidents, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, and I might be, I recall that there was an incident at Rush Limbaugh's house. What they're doing with these swattings is they are using voice over IP technology. They are spoofing the phone number or probably the neighborhood of the people that they are swatting. They call the police department and they report a violent crime in progress. So the police show up with their SWAT teams, loaded for bear, with their bulletproof vests on, getting ready to start shooting and everything else and embarrass everybody. And that is what they are doing. They're putting people's lives in danger. This is a very, very serious situation. And Senator Chambliss, he is a Republican from Georgia. He sent a letter to the Attorney General, Mr. Holder, and it reads in part, "Dear Attorney General Holder, I am writing with concern regarding recent reports that several members of the community of online political commentators," how you doing, "have been targeted with harassing and frightening actions. Any potentially criminal action that incites fear, seeks to silence a dissenting opinion, and collaterally wastes the resources of law enforcement should be given closer scrutiny at all levels." No word yet as to whether or not Attorney General Holder is going to address this. I would suspect probably not. There's no crime here. Move along, move along. Nothing to see, nothing to see. Nothing to see. Our next story regards something, here we go, regards something that has actually been happening to my associates and as well as possibly myself, but I'm not too sure. This comes from JimStoneFreelance.com. That's JimStoneFreelance.com. He is an investigative reporter. He's an independent investigative reporter, and he reports on a lot of things. And some people that have been associated with him have had, let's just say, sudden heart attacks and are no longer with us, if you catch my drift. At any rate, he has what he called solid proof that his emails are being filtered. Because people cannot get through to me through direct email, they are now using the eBay message system and are sending messages to my friend in Utah that way. So whoever is killing my emails, you have been nailed. Now, we have our own email server here at the network, Saline Entertainment Television Group, LLC. We not only have our own email server, we have several email accounts set up for associates that are around the world. This is an encrypted email system. It is extremely safe. If you log in the proper way, you will not, your emails will be encrypted, and what you are doing online will be encrypted. Now, we have been getting, people that have been sending emails to the server have been getting error 451 codes for about the past week. Now, I went ahead and I logged onto a bunch of different email accounts that I have and sent myself test emails, and they all went through fine. So I know the email servers are in fact working from no matter where I send them. So it appears an error 451, by the way, is a what they call a temporary error at the source. In other words, your ISP. If you get a 451 error, that means that your internet service provider has not been able to send the email. Whether that means it's being blocked, whether it means that there is a server on the internet somewhere that relays it is down, or whatever. This could be due to cyber attacks. This could be due to actual active blocking. But let's go back to Jim Stone's article and read it a little bit more. Absent the CD auction, he sells CDs, by the way, which unexpectedly provided another route of contact, I would still have been mired in doubt and confusion. This dispels all doubt. I know with full clarity what is going on now. To the man in Australia who wanted to do a radio interview, the answer is yes. But after the mail being fully intercepted, it is impossible to set this up. This is some of the problems that we are actually having here, by the way. People are sending emails, and they're not getting through. For an article as complex as the following mind control article, I really do need feedback from readers so it can be improved over time and updated the same way the Fukushima report repeatedly was. You cannot just go one off on a report as complex as the following one and nail it perfectly on the first try. At the end of this post at JimStoneFreelance.com, he says, I received an email a few days ago which stated that somebody wealthy in Japan was considering making a large donation to keep this site, that's JimStoneFreelance.com, going. I need to repeat, since things have gone silent, that all donation offers and all donations received are on the donation history page, which is linked to his website. So he believes that his email is being intercepted. I have not spoken with Jim Stone at JimStoneFreelance.com, so I don't know what type of errors he was getting. I suspect it's probably the same thing that we've been getting, the temporary 451 error. Whether or not anybody has been able to contact him about that, who knows, but we are on various chats. We have many different email addresses that I use, most of which are unknown to the attackers. So we are still able to communicate with people. We have some guests scheduled over the next few weeks, but we have not been able to contact them. So obviously there has been a substantial amount of messing around going on the internet. Now, whether or not this is due to the, and I believe it's happening today, to the big DNS blowout problem, because remember the FBI seized this DNS spoofing server, what was it, last year, maybe a year and a half ago, and they're fixing to shut it down, and millions of people are going to lose their internet access, and it could very well be happening to DNS servers or email servers around the world because the IP people didn't bother to check because, well, that doesn't affect us, when in fact it may actually be. Now, our next story is right over here, and this concerns something very interesting. This is Darrell Issa. You know Darrell Issa. He is the Republican representative from California, which is kind of an oxymoron if you ask me. He has, if you've seen this, or if you have listened to any conservative talk radio, it may have been on Fox News or another channel, but I don't know. I don't watch TV news. I have a staff to do that, and they haven't mentioned it to me. But at any rate, there has they had a very, very testy conversation. I believe it was on Thursday between Eric Holder and Representative Issa and his committee. They are investigating the, what did they call it? They called it the Fast and Furious operation. Operation Fast and Furious. At any rate, apparently there is a mole in the Department of Justice. And I believe, ladies and gentlemen, that if you've been paying attention, there have been, and this is all over the news, so obviously you've heard about it, there have been a lot of instances of leaks from people they believe is in the White House, or are in the White House, pardon me. Now, this could very well be related to that. I don't know if it is. I'm just blowing smoke out my butt on this one. I have absolutely no idea. But there are a substantial number of leaks in this administration. This could be part of that structure of leaks. You know, in any administration, especially one that's falling apart at the seams like this one, they have a lot of problems, and there are people that are going to be unhappy. There are people that are going to be unhappy, and sometimes they think that by spilling the beans to the public, by being a whistleblower, that they can, in fact, force change behind the scenes. So even though they may support the people that they're blowing the whistle on, it doesn't necessarily mean that they are doing the right thing or a good thing. So let's go back to this article here. This article is at, where is this at? This is at thehill.com, thehill.com. A mole helps Representative Issa whack Justice Department. This is by Jordy Yeager. This was posted on the 7th of June. That would be June 7th, 2012. With the help of a mole, Representative Darrell Issa, Republican, California, an oxymoron, has turned the tables on Attorney General Eric Holder. Issa has long been exasperated with Holder, claiming the Department of Justice has been withholding information on a controversial gun-running operation. But through an anonymous source, Issa has obtained information about the initiative that is under a federal court-ordered seal. And that may be where the crime occurs in this. Giving such information out is a federal crime, raising the question of whether the Justice Department will seek to prosecute what Republicans are calling a whistleblower. Issa has asked the DOJ for the documents, wiretap applications it used in the botched federal gun tracking operation Fast and Furious for months. The California lawmaker has taken preliminary steps to move contempt of Congress citations against Holder, but it remains unclear if GOP leaders support that move. This controversy could help Issa attract more Republican support for a contempt of Congress resolution. If Holder does launch an investigation into where the leak originated, the powerful Republican could paint the move as an attempt by the DOJ to hide the document's contents. So it appears that Mr. Holder is well and truly screwed. As a lead congressional investigator of Fast and Furious, Issa says the documents show top-ranking DOJ officials signed off on the condemned gun-walking tactics used in the failed operation. Senior DOJ officials have repeatedly denied that they approved the botched initiative. So apparently somebody just said, "Go, let's." The way the Justice Department is portraying this is somebody just decided to go to a gun shop, buy a whole bunch of guns, and drive them across the border and give them to the drug gangs down there across the border, after writing down the serial numbers, of course, and trying to track them without anybody knowing. Nobody knows. Apparently, we have long put behind us in the taillights, right back here, in the taillights of the fire truck up there on the shelf, we have long put in the taillights behind us the concept of the buck stops here, which goes to my point, the point that I have always made, is that these people have no honor whatsoever. There is almost virtually no honor left whatsoever within the federal government, or almost any government. It's unbelievable at times. And I do have a question, and I know that this show is monitored. We see your IP addresses. We know who is checking into the site to watch the show. We know who is watching the archives and who is monitoring us. So here's what I want you to do. We're going to go ahead and wait for a minute while you go get your boss, and you can go get your boss right now, and get him back into the office there. I know that people in the federal government are watching this, so you just go ahead and get your boss, and I have a question for you guys. Presumably he's in the office next door, and he's in the room now. You know, somebody obviously related to the administration, who are apparently completely clueless to what is going on in the United States of America. So here's what I want to do. What we are going to do at this time is I want you to go outside. Go outside, you know, wherever you are. If you're in the White House, go out the front. You go out the Rose Garden entrance. I really don't care. I want you to go outside. If you're in the NSA, step outside. Just show the guards your little badge and step outside. And when you go outside, I want you to look up. And we're going to go ahead and wait while you do that. Okay, you back? Good. Now, when you looked up, I want you to tell me, what in the hell color is the sky where you're at? Because you're not obviously not on the same planet that we're on. Are you guys living so far out of reality that obviously the sky's got to be a different color where you're at? People are insane. Anyways, let's go on to the next story here. Crazy people. Okay, here's a story. This comes to us from KLFY.com. KLFY.com. I believe it is, in fact, a TV station. Let me see what it says here. Yep. KLFY Eyewitness News 10. I don't know where they're at, but solar cells linked to greenhouse gases over 23,000 times worse than carbon dioxide, according to new book, Green Illusions. I, of course, will get a link up to the book, Green Illusions, and see if we can actually get the author here on the show to discuss this. The source for this is the University of Nebraska Press, Berkeley, California, June 4th, 2012, PRN Newswire. Solar cells do not offset greenhouse gases or curb fossil fuel use in the United States, according to a new environmental book, Green Illusions, written by University of California, Berkeley, visiting scholar Ozzie Zenner. Oh, I got to interview that guy, Ozzie Zenner. Green Illusions explains how the solar industry has grown to become one of the leading administrators of hexafluoroethane, that would be C2F6, nitrogen trifluoride, that would be NF3, and sulfur hexafluoride, that would be SF6. These three potent greenhouse gases used by solar cell manufacturers make carbon dioxide seem harmless. Hexafluoroethane has a global warming potential that is 12,000 times higher than CO2, according to the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. That would be the IPCC. Right here. That is according to a government panel. I believe that would be the United States government panel. If photovoltaic production grows, so will the associated side effects, claims Zenner. Even worse, there's no evidence that solar cells cut fossil fuel use in the American context, and I'm going to tell you why once again. This is one of our solar panels. And these, right here, ladies and gentlemen, are our solar cells. We make our own solar panels. as you see on our other show, This Old Shack. Our place in northern Michigan, our bug-out location, and we're going to touch on that in a little while. Our place in northern Michigan at the bug-out location is entirely off the grid. We have solar panels, like the one I just showed you. Solar panels are made up of a series of cells. There's two different types of solar panels. There's amorphous and silicone. Amorphous silicone is the one that I just showed you. It is essentially a piece of glass with a layer of chemically induced silicone on it that produces electricity. This is actually a silicone solar cell right here. This particular type is more efficient than the amorphous type. This is on the back here. This is one side of the polarity, and this is the other side of the polarity right here, these silver stripes. So you hook a wire up to the silver stripe here, and you hook a wire up to the silver dots in the back. You expose it to light, and it produces electricity. This only produces 1/2 of 1 volt. In order to get usable electricity, something that you can use, you can make them, say, 5 volts. You can add these together until you get 5 volts, and you can charge your cell phone with it. Or you can add these together until it gets up to, say, 21 volts, and you can use it through an inverter or a deep cycle battery bank. And that leads us to where the error in this solar industry, the solar photovoltaic industry, is one of the fastest growing emitters of these gases, which is now measurably accumulating in the Earth's atmosphere, according to the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, the NOAA. So these clowns that are telling us, oh, we got to stop emitting carbon, we got to stop emitting carbon and go green. These same clowns that are telling us that are now telling us that the very things that are going to allow us to go green are creating measurable amounts of greenhouse gases that is 12,000 times more harmful than CO2. Of course, after the solar panel has been made, shipped to you, which uses more fuel and creates more carbon dioxide, and you install it, then obviously it is not emitting anything. This is only during the manufacturing process. Now, the big mistake that is being made is this. Most of the solar panel installations, most of the solar installations or the wind turbine installations in the United States are in fact what is called grid tied. They are tied into the grid. In other words, you are producing electricity. Your excess electricity gets sold back to the electric company. Your electric bill goes down, and when it gets dark, you live off the grid just like everybody else. This is a mistake. I do not agree with it. I would never, ever, ever in our lifetimes do it. However, since I am surrounded by idiots, and I'm not saying that you guys are idiots because you're watching this show, so obviously you're not, but what we have here is a situation where we're not really creating a, let's call it a green infrastructure. The only thing we are doing is reducing the amount of electricity that your electric company has to produce, thereby allowing them to A, make more profit, and B, produce less electricity. So that means the EPA can shut down more electrical generation plants so that people that live in areas where they can't use solar power have to pay more electricity because it costs more to produce it in the first place. You following me on this? What people need to do is they need to go completely off grid. In other words, you use your solar panels. You have an inverter that converts the power from the solar panels to household power. And during the day, you're using the power created by the solar panels and your wind turbine. You have what is called a deep cycle battery bank. This stores the electrical potential in chemical form so that at night you can convert that potential into electricity, and during the day the batteries are recharged. That is how it should be done. But it is not, and that can be a completely entire show by itself, because what we are going to talk about next is actually related to that. And I'm sure you'll see about that in just a second. The next story that we're going to cover is actually something that I do at our place in northern Michigan. Frequently, we are in a drought condition up there. Frequently, we are in a red flag fire condition up there. When I am up there, I have the cellular modem that we use for broadcasting up there, because we do the show when we are in northern Michigan. And I listen to the fire department scanner over the internet, I might add, so that I can hear what's going on. The last time I was up there, they had DNR spotter planes, they had fire trucks, bulldozers, and everything else all over the place. When I was there, they had a 5-alarm fire in a forest near the natural gas wellheads that produce the natural gas for this area of the country. So collecting rainwater up there, for me, is essential. Even though we're on a lake, I could very well put a well pump down on the lake and pump water up for watering the plants, the vegetable garden, and whatnot. However, collecting 30 gallons of rainwater is a good idea because, number one, if there is, God forbid, a fire near where we are, or I can help put out some of the flames around our place, because we are in a heavily forested area, and these trees go up like matchsticks. So we do collect rainwater. We use it for various purposes. In fact, the water filtration system that we use both here at the headquarters and there is capable of filtering out all of the protozoa and everything else, taking the rainwater and turning it into drinking water. It's actually purified water. So that is what we do up there. However, right here we see from worldtruth.tv, that is worldtruth.tv, collecting rainwater is now illegal in many states as big government claims ownership over our water. And that, my friends, is complete BS. I can't state that clearly enough. The government is claiming control over the water that comes out of the sky. Oh, wait a minute, that's right. They put chemtrails up there, and the chemtrails and HARP create the storms that create the rain, so obviously they have ownership over it since they created it in the first place. Bunch of assholes is what they are. Anyways, this is actually from, 2011. Believe it or not, but this has hit the news again. Many of the freedoms we enjoy here in the United States are quickly eroding as the nation transforms from a land of the free into a land of the enslaved. But what I'm about to share with you takes the assault on our freedoms to a whole new level. You may not be aware of this, but many western states, including Utah, Washington, and Colorado, have outlawed individuals from collecting rainwater on their own property because that rain belongs to somebody else, according to officials. There's a typical rainwater collection system. You can see the downspout going in there. You got two barrels there. All of them look like they're about 35, 40 gallons there. You have a garden hose coming out one side, and you have a garden hose coming out the bottom on one of them there. As bizarre as it sounds, laws restricting property owners from diverting water that falls on their own homes and land have been on the books for quite some time in many western states. Only recently has droughts and renewed interest in water conservation. Now that is an oxymoron right there. Water conservation, so you're not allowed to conserve water by collecting the rainwater that falls, have become more common have individuals and business owners butting heads with law enforcement over the practice of collecting rainwater for personal use. Which leads me to a rather odd twist of logic that's been going around in my brain all day. That is this. The rainwater falls, you collect it, you use it for watering your plants and whatnot, and your garden, your vegetable garden, so that you can be prepared, like Big Sister says to do in case of big storms, things like that. You water your plants and your vegetables so that you can feed your family, instead of using the water that comes from the municipality that is in short supply, and they say that's wrong. You have to let that rainwater fall on the ground so it goes into the aquifer so they can pump it out, so they can charge you for that water that you would have been collecting for free. In other words, banning the collection of rainwater does virtually nothing other than creating a new revenue stream. Now, here in Michigan, and this really grinds my butt, here in Michigan, up there in the northern part of Michigan, not that far from our bug-out facility, a company called Nestle, and you probably saw this on Jesse Ventura's show, a company called Nestle is pulling water out of the ground, purifying it, and selling it as bottled water. He covered that. The way that they can get away with this, because you're not allowed to suck water out of our Great Lakes for your own use, what they're doing is they've got a bunch of wells stuck in the ground some few miles away from the Great Lakes, and they're sucking water out of the ground there, so they're not actually taking water out of the Great Lakes. They're taking it out of the aquifer that feeds the Great Lakes. At any rate, what they do is they suck the water out, they purify it, and then they sell it. But here's what I do, and this is pretty cool, I think. Here, check this out. Hold on a second. I'll be right back. Here, let me throw some music on so that you can, here we go. Here's Country Fish.
I've been fishing your fishing pool like some crazy man in angling pool. I hope one day you'll swim my way, then this trotting line I'll just back away.
Okay, I'm back. Hope you enjoyed that song. What I do is, because they sell that water from Nestle around here, and it's very inexpensive to purchase, so I purchase it, and here's a bottle of your Nestle water right here that they pull out of the ground up there in northern Michigan, out of the aquifer that feeds the Great Lakes that we're only maybe 100 miles away from. I go up there and I use this water, and it basically gets dumped back on the ground and goes back in the ground. It's my way of screwing with the man. I take that water that they pump out of the ground and I put it right back in. A gallon at a time. Now, could you imagine if one person did that? If one person walked up to the Nestle plant with a bottle of their water and dumped it on the ground, they'd think he was crazy. If two people walked up to the gates of the Nestle plant up there and each one of them dumped a gallon of water on there, they'd think they were gay. If three people went up to the Nestle gates and each one of them dumped a gallon of the Nestle water on the ground, they'd think that something was going on. If 100 people did it, they would think that it's some kind of a movement. And it is, folks. It's the put the Nestle water back in the ground where it belongs and where it came from movement. So join me, and if you live in northern Michigan, or you're planning on going up there, buy yourself several gallons of Nestle bottled water. Make sure it says from northern Michigan on it, and dump it back on the ground. It's just one of the many ways that I mess with the man. Now, what do we got else do we have here? We have, oh yes, here's a great one right here. The WISE satellite finds few brown dwarfs close to home. You mean kind of like Narubu? Yeah. See, this is your disinformation. Because of this Planet X, and Narubu does exist. It's going to be here about this year, because every 3,600 years, something on this planet goes cattywampus. We have covered this many times on this show. Just look in the archives. If it is coming, it is going to be accompanied by its system. And that system is more than likely a brown dwarf system. And I'm sure Boris Artemenko is going to correct me on that via email. But here you go with a little bit of disinformation. The WISE program finds few brown dwarfs close to us. And, they, of course, they have a picture with circles and arrows and a paragraph about each one on the back of the photograph there. And, well, I hate to give these guys the bad news, but only an idiot would not spot this as disinformation. This is, of course, from our friends at physics.org. That's phys.org. phys.org. This image shows our own backyard, astronomically speaking, from a vantage point of about 30 light years away from the sun. Now, of course, they can't take a picture from 30 light years away from the sun. So, obviously, it is from Earth orbit. It highlights the population of tiny brown dwarfs recently discovered by NASA's Wide Field Infrared Survey Explorer, or WISE. The image simulates actual positions of stars. So, in other words, this is not actual 100% real observations. This is a simulation. Sort of like all of their other simulations that have turned out to be wrong. Like the simulation of hope and change. Well, they did change things, didn't they? Astronomers are getting to know our neighbors better. Our sun resides within the spiral arm of our Milky Way galaxy, about 2/3 of the way out from the center. So far, so good. Nothing but stuff that we learned in first grade. It lives in a fairly calm, suburb-like area with an average number of stellar residents. So, in other words, they're telling us the same thing that we learned in school. Now, just as scientists are meeting and greeting the new neighbors, WISE has a surprise in store. There are fewer brown dwarfs around us than predicted. So, there's a little bit of information. So if you happen to look up one day and you see a giant planet in the sky during the day, you know that, gosh, they blew that one, didn't they? At any rate, that's about it for tonight. If you happen to stay with the show this long, I congratulate you. You are to be congratulated on your fortitude of being able to listen to me. And our idiot of the day is the person that said that I don't know what I'm talking about the radiation thing. Last night, when I said it's nothing more than a military exercise, this guy said, well, it's nothing more than a military exercise. If you'd paid attention, you'd know that. So obviously, this person didn't pay attention to the show and is therefore our idiot of the day. Congratulations. Don't forget, wear your ball cap outside so the facial recognition software in the drones can't recognize you. My name is Bill Xam. Have a good evening. This show will start repeating momentarily.